Please don't attack my leg while I'm riding. Be a good boy. Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Yammie Noob. The astute among you might notice that we are not in Texas. And if we are in Texas, must be a strange Texas spot. No, we are in fact in New Mexico right now. Why am I in New Mexico? Well, I decided to change it up for you guys. Came all the way out here. I wanted to explore a little bit with the Scrambler and have some fun on some forest roads and all that kind of stuff, which as you can see, I've been having lots of fun off-road with this machine. And for even the most astute among you might notice that I'm missing my mirrors, and that's because while I was transporting this motorcycle, they got lopped off in a parking lot. So, gotta get new mirrors for this bike. Anyways, title of today's video is how to pick your first motorcycle. Now, I think there's a lot of stuff online about what bike to get, what you should get as a beginner rider, what you should do, blah, 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 should. But the question I want to answer today is how you should go about picking your first bike, what you should think about when you go about getting your first bike, some stuff I've learned after buying like damn near 30 motorcycles as a guy who rides on track, off-road, and on the street. I've got a lot of experience, got a lot to say, so let's get started with today's video. All right, swing a leg over this sweet little Scrambler, and let us take off. So the reason I started thinking about this was because we've been having tons of folks on our Discord server asking me what they should get as their first motorcycle. And, you know, it's such a hard question to answer because when you're a first-time motorcycle rider, you don't have a barometer for what kind of motorcycling you want to do or that you like to do. So for me, someone who's ridden and owned lots and lots of different motorcycles, I can safely say that this desert sled is exactly what I want. It's got good ground clearance, it's fun to ride on-road and off-road, it can do a lot of different stuff, I like the sound that it makes, and overall is a super fun motorcycle to ride for me. That's what we're going to get back to a lot in today's episode, is we're talking a lot about what is right for you. This motorcycle, although I love it and I think it's great and I seriously think it's one of the best bikes ever made, it's not for everybody. If you are trying to, you know, own one motorcycle and do a couple track days a year and you want to commute, this isn't the right machine. So the first thing I always ask people when they, God, look how pretty that is. I just can't even get over that. I wish we had stuff like this in Texas. So the first thing I always ask people when they are asking me, Yammie, I want to get my first bike, what should I get? The first thing I ask is, well, what do you want to do with it? You know, because that's the first thing I have to understand before I can even give you a recommendation on what motorcycle to pick. So you have to start thinking about what do you want to do with your bike. And if you've never ridden before, that can be kind of a tough question to answer. You know, you kind of might just think to yourself, well, I just want to ride a bike. I think it sounds fun. I want to go fast. I want to crack open the throttle and do some cool stuff with my motorcycle. You know, I don't know what I want to do yet. And that's totally fine. Woof, that's a cow, isn't it? That's a cow. Come on, Brisket. That's a big boy. Got a bunch of little cows here. Look at that. Maybe I'm not so far from Texas. So, being that you don't know what you want yet from motorcycling, I think it behooves you to get a bike that can be applied in a lot of different ways, right? And it's why I think the Sparkplug 401 is one of the best options, hands down, for any beginner rider. And we put out that comprehensive review video on it. It's actually done pretty well, but a lot of people thought that I was paid by Husqvarna, that the team at Yammie Noob was paid by Husqvarna to say such nice things about it. But really, what I wanted to stress in that video was this motorcycle is so great because it allows you to dabble and explore a lot of different facets of motorcycling that other bikes you may not be able to experience with. Because the last thing you want to do is get yourself a little Ninja 400 or something like that, and then you realize you want to explore places like this. You want to travel down some forest roads. You want to check out some single track or some trails, and you know that'd be kind of tough to do with the Ninja 400. Not impossible, but probably pretty tough to do. So again, I go back to asking you, what do you want to do with that bike? The second thing I ask people is, where do you live? And that might seem like a weird question because it's like, well, what does it matter where where I live, but it actually matters a lot, because if you live in a place like, I don't know, Pakistan, for example, that, you know, from what I understand from all the commenters that tell me about their roads out there, doesn't have, you know, the best paved roads, super smooth roads like we do here in America, I'm probably not going to recommend a super sport to you. I don't think I'd recommend a sport bike in general if those are the kinds of roads you have around you. If you live in a place like Houston, Texas, that has literally no curvy roads within a 100-mile radius, except for like Sam Houston Forest, I think, I probably won't recommend some beautiful canyon carving machine. I'll probably tell you to get yourself like a cruiser or something that fits your environment. And it's something that I've started to notice as I've traveled to more and more places, is bikes tend to fit the environment that they're in. Different motorcycles tend to fit different environments, and, you know, when you go to a place like Houston, you'll see a lot of stretched Hayabusas, and you'll see a lot of nitrous Gixxers, and you'll see a lot of high horsepower bikes, because people like to jump on the highway and go really fast in a straight line, because that is what is in their environment. So ask yourself, what is around me in my local area? Do you live in a place like New Mexico here, where you've got access to cool twisty roads and beautiful pull-off spots and scenic forest roads with some mud, some trails? Well, I'd say to maximize your utility for where you live, you should probably get a dual sport. That'd probably be an awesome motorcycle, or a Smart Pillin 401, because I still think that's a great option. The next thing I like to ask people when they are asking me what bike should they get for their first one is, how old are they? And I think some people like to think that, oh, Yammie, age is just a number, it doesn't matter. But there is a huge maturity difference between someone who is 19 years old and 29 years old, and I can definitely recommend different motorcycles to different people given those ages, right? A 19-year-old, I probably would not recommend get a 650 class bike for their first machine, whereas a 29-year-old, I might recommend them to get a 650 class machine, maybe an SV650, maybe a Z650, if they're into the sport bike type of thing. I think that makes a lot of sense for someone who's older and has a more mature right wrist. It's not to say that everyone who is 19 years old or younger is going to be immature with their motorcycle. I can already hear it now, someone clambering away in the comments that they were 18 and they started an R1 and they are still alive and with us and commenting down below. But it's just not a wise idea if you're so young to get a high horsepower motorcycle, and it's why in Europe they have licensing restrictions based primarily on age and horsepower and weight figures of the machine. Speaking of weight and horsepower and some specs like that, I think the next thing I like to ask people is, well, you know, now that I know a little bit about you, I know where you live, I know what age you are, and I know, you know, a little bit about your background perhaps. You know, the next thing I like to ask is, what are your human specs? Give me your height, your inseam, your weight, and your general physical ability, right? And I don't want to preclude anyone from, oh, we got a wolf over here, a coyote or something. Please don't attack my leg while I'm riding. Be a good boy. He scampered off somewhere. That's good. I had a wild dog encounter in Israel one time, and that was scary. Anyways, so much wildlife here. So it's important to know your human specs, as I would like to call it. And I'm not going to say that, you know, being a certain size precludes anyone from motorcycling. However, there is a range of human sizes that I think work better for motorcycling. I'm very fortunate in that, you know, at 5'11", without any boots on, and 170 pounds or so, it's like all motorcycles were designed specifically for someone my size. I have literally never had a problem fitting on any motorcycles ever. And I really feel for people who are 5'4" or 5'3", or have a very small inseam and have to kind of teeter their legs in and out of different places to, you know, try to make sure that they get a good grip on the bike. I really feel for these people, because it's not easy to ride a motorcycle when you don't feel comfortable on it. So it's super important for you to understand your ergonomics and understand your size before you start thinking about a motorcycle. Again, it's not to say that if you're a given size, you're precluded from riding any type of motorcycle. It's just that some bikes are going to be easier than others depending on how big you are. If you are, you know, 5'2", 100 pounds, let's say you're a female, right? A big adventure bike is possible to ride, but it's not going to be easy. Something like a Rebel 500 or a Bolt or something with a more amenable seat height is definitely going to be the better bet here. All right, I'm going to slow down because I think there's some ice on the road here, and this Texas boy is not used to ice on the roads, so I don't know what to do with them. I just like to go real slow and make sure that we don't die. It's a big reason why in our latest videos we've been doing the ergonomics check on basically every bike, because now the team that is local in the Austin office for Yammie Noob, we've got Josh at 5'8", myself at 5'11", and Spite at around 6'2", 6'3". We have a very broad range of sizes that we can show you what we look like on each bike and how we feel on each bike. It's so important to just go sit on these motorcycles. Like when I sat on my desert sled, I loved how commanding it was. I loved how tall this machine was. It felt like a big supermoto. I absolutely fell head over heels as soon as I swung a leg over it because of how tall it was. The next thing I want to tell you guys, if you are thinking about getting your first motorcycle, is, you know, if you are currently not in a position to pull the trigger on a bike in the next, I'd say, month or so, don't stress too much about your different options. I think it's really easy to start, you know, getting super stressed out about what bike you should get. Oh my God, Yammie, should I get a Z400 or an R3? What should I do? Should I get a Duke 390? Should I get a Spark Plug 401? What about an SV650? Maybe an MT-07? What do I do? If you literally don't have the purchasing power to go and get this motorcycle in the next month, I know you're going to be upset at me, but literally don't worry about it. Don't worry about what bike you're going to get if you literally can't get it. The best thing you can do right now would be to just keep researching some cool options for different bikes, research your gear, maybe get your gear, maybe do your motorcycle safety foundation course, maybe subscribe to my Discord so you can hang out with other bikeless bros and bike-full bros. But, you know, I don't think it's worth your time to sit there and mull over these 2 different bikes or these 3 different bikes you're thinking about getting, and, you know, just focus on what you can change right now. Life is really long, and even if you get the first motorcycle and it's not exactly what you want, I mean, you can sell it in a year, and then you can get yourself something that you really want, you know? You don't have to be stuck with a machine for a long time. Whew, super cold. And, you know, it might take a couple motorcycles until you figure out what exactly it is that you really want out of motorcycling. Like for me, for example, the first 5 motorcycles that I owned were all very sport-oriented and basically had little concessions for the street. They were pretty much just sport bikes through and through, and that's all I wanted to do because I liked going fast. As I transitioned to more of a track day and racer kind of person, I currently race in CMRA, as many of you guys know, I started getting kind of bored with riding sport bikes on the street, and so I transitioned to something like this desert sled because I wanted something that was comfortable, torquey, upright, and fun. Oh geez, man. Something fun to ride on the street, you know? I didn't want a handful of a bike. I didn't want some leader bike for the street because that's what I wanted. Again, like I said in the beginning, you gotta think about what you want as a motorcyclist. You can't think about what Yammie Noob did and what Yammie Noob does, or what this guy, you know, down the street does. Whatever you want to do with bikes is what's gonna sort yourself out. So, you know, again, let's recap, right? So, first thing you gotta think about, how old are you? Second thing, what kind of bikes do you like, right? Like, if you don't like the look of naked bikes, don't get a naked bike then. Just because I told you to get a naked bike, you don't have to get a naked bike. So what kind of bikes do you like? Where do you live? What do you want to do with this machine? And I guess what's your budget? That's definitely an important consideration, but not as important to me, honestly, because, you know, if you want a bike, you'll get a bike and you'll find a way to get it. Because it's a big reason why I say that you should really think about the kind of riding you want to do. Because, I mean, for me, like, I love this motorcycle because I can be comfortable on the highway with it. It's got plenty of torque. It pops wheelies super easily, and yet I can still chuck it down a fire road or a forest road if I want to. I can take it out to little adventure parks and slide it around, have fun with it. It's a really versatile machine, and honestly, I absolutely love the way it looks. It's super important that you really love your motorcycle and you love the way it looks, because life is too damn short to get some bike you're not super passionate about. It's so important to get a bike that you really vibe with, or eventually get a bike you really vibe with. If your very first motorcycle is just some $2,000 crappy little Ninja 300 that you want to learn on, that's cool. And then later down the road, I really recommend getting something that you really love. Get something that really resonates with you, because God, life is so short. But at the same time, it's quite long. You have many, many years to enjoy motorcycling, so don't feel the need to rush, you know, down the path of, I want an R1, I want a leader bike, I want to go super fast, I want to go crazy on the street, I want to do 186 miles per hour. That sounds so awesome. That stuff is awesome, but it's only awesome in closed conditions, and it's something that you'll only start to understand once you get a little bit older. And for the older guys watching this, I'm sure they definitely vibe with that. I am of the ripe age of 28 years old, and so I'm not exactly, you know, a wizened old ancient, as it were, but I'm also not a spring chicken. I've been around the block for a little bit. I have some experience, and I think I can impart some stuff on the young bucks out there. So I'm going to keep enjoying my motorcycle. I hope you guys got some value out of this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe down below. We're posting up new videos on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, because we've got 3 people editing on this channel now and a team of 6 doing some awesome stuff here. Remember, if you love what we do, support the channel by hitting the link down below to yammie.co. Sign up and become a member. It is the best way to support what we do. I'll catch y'all in the next one. See you later.
So real bummer, this video is actually over, but you're in luck. There are hundreds of other Yammie Noob videos you can go and check out. Hit this one right over here. Watch it. Do it for Yammie-chan.